now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to a brand new episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night. As always, we are your guides through the great beyond, your queens of darkness, the Boulet Brothers, Swanthula
and Drakmorda, and I apologize if my voice sounds a little weird tonight because we have been singing all day long. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were finishing the vocals on our new EP that's coming out this fall, and I'm very excited about it.
I'm going to say this. Drac did all the heavy lifting today. I basically went in the recording box and did like 2-3 lines in my signature witch cackle, and I was done. But Drac was in there for a good hour and a half, and we were fucking giddy. Like, it is so good. I'm so proud of you. I mean, you sounded fantastic.
Thank you. I was a little nervous about it, but I did feel like this genre of music is a little more akin to what I think is appropriate for us. I don't know. It just fits our vibe, I think. So I was kind of into it.
It's a little more than that because I could see through the glass that you were kind of like dancing as you were singing. Like, bitch, you were feeling it.
I always do. Like, yeah, I have to do that because I feel like, I don't know, if I don't kind of emote, it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't work. I'm kind of feeling it. Another quick thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to ask the audience and the listeners if they had any suggestions for us for Midsummer Scream, because we always do a panel at Midsummer Scream. Last year we did a Boulet Brothers Dragula panel. We don't want to do the same thing again. So we want to ask you what you would like to hear us do a panel on.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It was actually my idea. So I'm interested to see what the fans would suggest for us because we have a few things floating around that are possibilities, but I don't even want to mention them because I want it to be, anything and everything that listeners think we might be able to do and that would attract a good crowd for our panel at Midsummer.
Yeah, so write to us at creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com with your suggestions, and we will definitely be picking one of them.
So, Drac, let's talk about our most recent adventure because we actually got to escape Los Angeles.
That's right, we did, and we went up way into Northern California, into the Redwood Forest, and we went through the Avenue of the Giants.
It was like one of those things where you're like, okay, this is like a landmark that we've lived near forever and have never seen. And you hear always like, oh, it's so phenomenal and it's like majestic and it's like, larger than life. And it's all true. It was like this pristine primeval forest, so cool, and you are just dwarfed in the darkness too. It's like broad daylight. You go in, and the light probably cuts by like what 80%.
Yeah, and the temperature change is so extreme too. It'll be like 102, and then you get in there and it's like 66.
Yeah,
and it's within a half hour away. You get that kind of change.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went through Fort Bragg, the Redwood Forest, Eureka, all these northern towns. But really, to make a long story short, the reason we're talking about this is because on our adventures, something weird was definitely happening up north, and we discovered another vortex. Yes, listeners, this one is called the Mystery Spot, and it's located in the Redwood Forest in Santa Cruz, California, and it has a mysterious force that makes people change. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing
as the Oregon vortex.
And the Oregon, not Oregon.
Right.
Vortex. So yeah, this one, they are claiming that there are conical magnets that have been buried deep in the ground, perhaps by aliens, that is causing this to happen. Yeah.
Put a little alien dirt on it.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people have written in since we did the Vortex episode saying, oh, I heard there was a Vortex here and there's one there. And apparently they're everywhere. Okay, the Earth is filled with magical vortexes, and that's just the way it is.
It is.
So on our journey, we should talk about some of the true crime stuff we listened to. We needed a little break.
We had some time driving up north. It's like a 10, 12-hour drive, so we were deep diving into some podcasts, and we picked up on that series about the Idaho killings, the 4 students that were stabbed to death in their beds. So there's 4 kids in their campus house that in the middle of the night, on a random night, a random stranger comes in and kills 4 of them, and there are 2 surviving roommates in the house. I'm kind of obsessed.
Well, it's a long story short, it's kind of like a horror movie, the way that it unfolded. Like at one point, he comes in and stabs 2 girls that are in the bed together. He goes upstairs, stabs one of the boyfriends, goes in the room, stabs the other girl, and then comes and walks right past this other girl upstairs, opens her door, and he walks right past her
and locks
mask.
eyes with her. Yeah, he's like masked from the nose down. I mean, it was like so chilling, and she was able to identify, because all she could see was his eyes, and he had really, really distinctive kind of like bushy eyebrows. And then this is all getting, transmitted through like podcast form. So we're driving up like, roll up the windows, keep quiet. Like, let's get into this.
I was obsessed with the story when it was happening because it sounded like a horror movie. Like unfortunately, there's a lot of like killings and mass killings and shootings and stuff nowadays. But this to me sounded like Black Christmas or something. It was kind of terrifying.
Oh, totally. And I'm kind of excited, I guess. It's a little morbid, but the main suspect, the only suspect, their trial is coming up in October. Yeah. So the podcast led us up to this, and then just stopped because the story stopped. We got brought up to speed, and we just have to wait now.
So we wanted a break from horror, and we decided to just watch real life people killing other people, right?
Exactly.
We started watching Worst Roommate Ever on Netflix.
Oh my God, our newest obsession. It's streaming now, so we went from that right to Worst Roommate Ever. And we saw several episodes, and this is the stuff that binging dreams are made of.
Well, give me your favorites. Like, what are some of the ones you like?
Okay, so 2 really stand out, but there's only 4 episodes. They're in the 2nd season. There's 4 episodes. So the first episode is Rachel and Janie, who've been best friends for like 25 years. But it turns out that Janie was trying to poison and infect her friend with a variety of diseases to kill her and take custody of her autistic son.
Yeah.
Diabolical.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the other one that you like?
Other episodes feature this granny killing gay from Cathedral City, a money-hungry mom who probably killed her military boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. She killed the military boyfriend, and then the military boyfriend's best friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
She tried to kill him for insurance, too.
For insurance money.
Yes, but perhaps...
It's always about the life insurance. You got to look out for that.
At least one, right? There's always one of those. And probably my favorite, because this is our very first grandpa hag from hell.
Who's that?
Named Michael Dudley. Now, you remember, he's like a much older guy, like probably in his like late 60s.
Right.
He had this rental house, and he was like renting it out to a variety of people. But it turns out like he killed several of his roommates' dogs and told them. And it just it's fucking chilling. But the culmination of this is that he had these 2 young roommates, like a boyfriend and girlfriend couple, who were like, they're all kind of like abusing math, including the grandpa hag from hell. But he ends up shooting them both in the house dead, chopping up their bodies, stuffing them into a variety of suitcases, and throwing them all over the water of Seattle.
Well, anyways,
it's wild. It's so good.
If any of our listeners at home are fans of true crime, tell us your favorites, because we're looking for the next one, and maybe we'll cover some on the podcast, because I think it could be a lot of fun.
Well, there is one out there that we talked about. Like, this is going to be our next one, which is called, and I love the name, What Jennifer Did. I can't wait to find out.
Maybe we should do
what
that
Jennifer
for our
did.
Junior Ments
Movie club review
for the next episode.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that. It's streaming on Netflix. It's called What Jennifer Did. We know nothing about it other than it's another
I don't
true
want to watch
crime
the
streamer.
previews because they spoil everything.
Exactly.
Anyways, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be welcoming Ian to the podcast. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, dear listeners. And oh, look, it's about that time. Let's pry open the casket door and welcome our co-host, Ian DeVogler, back to the land of the living.
Oh my God, that casket door is so heavy, and my roommate is so annoying. Hi.
Hello. I see you when you're streaming, and your coffin's kind of big. It's like a double size.
It's actually an optical illusion because it's actually very squat. So it's
Okay.
really wide because you got to get the bears in there.
I figured.
I've seen it IRL, and it is an optical illusion. I was like, wait, this is the room?
I know. I am actually very, very excited for at some point when the layer gets upgraded and I'm going to actually show everyone what it looks like because, Mama, I am sandwiched in there.
Literally in
Why?
the casket.
Yeah.
Have you not put your puzzle up? You should put your puzzle on your shelf of memorabilia.
You're totally right. And for listeners at home, the Boulets once got me this incredible puzzle of myself. It's fan art that was made of me like way, way, way long ago. And you know what? I just haven't had time to make the puzzle, Mod Podge it, and just mount it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get you a t-shirt next.
Oh my God. Okay, true life, I would wear the hell out of a t-shirt with my face on it.
Okay, I think people would actually buy that t-shirt.
With the puzzle?
With the puzzle?
It's the puzzle portrait of Ian on a t-shirt. Oh my God.
I love it. I mean, I love my Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5 tour merch, which I have been wearing to the gym a lot because I have the long sleeve and it's so comfy. And every time I wear it, I'm always like, I wonder if other secret gays, I mean, not that I'm a secret gay, I mean, I'm pretty gay, but I
like,
wonder,
hello, I'm looking at your nails, and I know everyone else at the gym is too.
Oh, my brand new hard gel acrylic extension claws.
Give him a little tap and let him hear.
A little ASMR, hold on. Ooh, hold on, let me get my water bottle.
That's the best one. That's the best
Yeah,
right
I
there.
love it. Also, hold on, let me
That's
text
so
really quick,
good.
hold on.
So satisfying.
It is. And honestly, I have been obsessing at the gym because I'm on a new fitness journey. I'm trying to get back in the gym, trying to get my body right, her body.
It's working.
Your body
Thank
looks
you.
good. Your nails look good, honey. You're not going
I'm not
anywhere.
going anywhere.
Not tonight.
Not tomorrow, not next week.
Not
is,
ever.
Is gone the next episode.
Damn.
My favorite piece of dramatic irony on the show. It's so good.
Legendary.
Monique was a great villain.
Monique was
She
a
really
great
was.
villain.
Yeah. All right, Ian, do you have any news for us this week?
Absolutely. Now, we have quite a few things to get to, as well as our Junior Mints Movie Club review. But first, let's dive into all things titillating and terrifying in the darkened window of the symbolic Bates house that is Hollywood here on Creatures of the Night. We spoke a little bit in a recent episode about the upcoming Universal Monsters Dark Universe that is coming to Universal Studios Orlando because I guess they get everything fun and I'm not totally upset or jealous. But the gates of hell are opening further with 2 more horror IRL experiences from the ether with Beetlejuice, the Afterlife Experience coming to Hollywood in August of this year, and Six Flags unveiling their newest abyssal offering in the form of Fright Fest Extreme coming to Southern California and New Jersey. Beetlejuice Squared will feature recreated sets and live performances in a licensed experience for fans of The Ghost with the Most, and for the thrill seekers and adrenaline junkies, Six Flags Fright Fest Extreme, powered by Snickers candy bars, I guess, will feature attractions from the Saw, Conjuring, and Stranger Things franchises.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Wow, so they
okay.
licensed a
That's
bunch of
surprising.
different
Mama, they are
things.
stepping that pussy up.
Living.
Yeah.
It's
Well-
because this is such a competitive market. We've talked ad nauseum as how great Southern California is for all horror attractions
Yeah.
and Halloween. So that makes sense, and that might actually get me there to
Well,
Six
the thing
Flags
about
this year.
Fright Fest, if we go, is all those roller coasters are open at night too, so it could be fun.
I'm into it. I mean, Swan and I are definitely the adrenaline junkies when it comes to roller coasters. But
yeah.
you like roller coasters
Oh
too,
yeah,
Jack.
I ride anything. The only thing I don't like, and I've ridden it, but I don't want to do it again, is that like
The drop.
gravity drop or whatever. I'm like, I've experienced it. I don't need that feeling. I don't need it.
This thing you don't own it.
You don't own it. The one ride that I don't know that I would refuse to do with you, Drac, but you take it to a whole nother level is any sort of teacup or anything that you can control the rotation. Drac will try to kill you.
I've given up years ago. The last time we went to Knott's, we didn't ride a ton of rides, but she got me on the fucking teacups, and it was like Barfarama. It was like so intense.
You've never ridden a county fair caterpillar ride with me either, because
Do you know those?
No, what is that?
This is basically, you kind of sit in these like little roller coaster things, and it goes around in a circle really fast, and then it'll go backwards, and sometimes there's a hood that comes up and goes over you too.
The hood is good because it gets
But
dark.
basically, the padding is really bad because they're all old
because
and
the county
janky.
fair too.
Yeah. So you tend to, if you're with someone else, slide and suck to the outside and smash the person next to you. And some people lean into
in.
that and try to make it worse. And sometimes there can be 3 people in the seat, so it's a lot of fun.
Oh, you know what? I'm definitely down for that. Up next is a quick roundup of new ghosts in the graveyard and specters on the silver screen, bringing the announcement of, to start, AMC's Interview with the Vampire Season 3, a brand new Van Helsing TV series on CBS, Sarah Michelle Gellar is joining the cast of the upcoming Dexter prequel series, and we have a few toy and video game related terrors to boot. Fans of Dead by Daylight have gotten their hands on famed Tomb Raider and triangle-breasted baddie Lara Croft as the latest survivor to join the trials, while fans of Pixel Zombies have rejoiced as a listing for the House of the Dead 2 remake has resurfaced on the ESRB website, a trailer for a remake of Dead Rising, and news that Resident Evil 9 would be crawling out of an unmarked grave sometime in the future, all in the same week.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But the first thing is probably the most important. Did you characterize Lara Croft's tits as triangles?
Triangle-breasted baddie!
Her fake and triangular tits. They were like Kim G on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. You and your fake and square tits. Everybody was right about you. So you and your fake and triangular tits, Lara Croft.
How dare you, Tomb Raid? Yes. Oh my God. Total sidebar. I have become obsessed with that clip from Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Which one?
It's Kim Richards going, I want a baby. And then Kyle goes, Kim. She goes, yeah, I want to travel. I'm like, this is my new, like my idol, my icon.
That's
I love
your
it.
Kim quote. There's so many.
I can't believe that it gets crazier than that. It's so good.
Oh my God.
Sit down, you slut pig.
Yeah, that's another one. Another one is, well, I guess she didn't really say anything. She goes,
said,
let's not talk about your
the
husband. And she's like, what you don't want out there. And Lisa Rinna like broke a glass at her. It was crazy.
My God.
I have to show you the clip.
Kim gets gnarly.
Yeah.
Well,
she pretended to be pregnant. The one season she relapsed and she was drunk on the show again.
Oh, nice.
And she pretended to be pregnant. And Kyle was like dying of secondhand embarrassment because she, clearly she couldn't have a kid at her age. And so
and with that much drugs and alcohol
she's
in the
like,
system.
I'm pregnant. And she did it on camera, and Kyle's like, that's amazing.
I love it. Oh, there's also, this is crazy. Warner Brothers also announced that there's going to be a new MonsterVerse movie, like another Godzilla versus Kong, Mothra, Ghidorah, whatever. But they announced that it's coming out in 2027.
Oh.
I'm like,
who cares?
Why? Like, why would you? Like, why would you even announce that yet? Like,
Yeah.
okay.
That is weird.
We're doing that now? Like 3 years down the road? Like,
I
we don't
mean,
need
I'm
to
like,
wait so
after
long.
Godzilla -1, I'm like, stop. Just stop.
Totally.
Let
The
them
King of
do it.
Monsters was cool, though. I know it wasn't maybe an overall perfect movie or like super great, but seeing Ghidorah and some of the other
Is that the one
Rodan.
where they go into like they literally go like upside down to the crust of the earth?
Oh no, I hate that shit. I don't think that's that one. This is the one. The piece that sticks out for me is Ghidorah. The 3-headed dragon, and the storm clouds roll in, and the yellow lightning starts.
Ghidorah is so cool.
Yeah, it's just so great.
Yeah, he's a bad.
Erica agrees.
And finally, unofficial friend of the show and horror master, legend, icon, and superstar John Carpenter was in the news earlier as the Hollywood Walk of Fame announced that he would be receiving a star in Hollywood alongside another horror alum. That's right, bitch. Welcome to prime time, because Freddy Krueger herself is getting her manicured claws on the Walk of Fame too. Well, at least Robert Englund is. This is on top of the 42nd anniversary of John Carpenter's The Thing earlier last week, and the announcement that McCready, Kurt Russell's, schnacky, feathered hair, and also battle-scarred Megan from M3GAN are both getting Funko Pops to coincide with a brand new Funko Fusion video game. Get your Nether coins. We're going shopping.
Wow, that's
I
a
love
lot.
to see some of these horror icons getting their stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I think it's really awesome.
They're finally getting their dead flowers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cute.
Horror is making its way into the mainstream, I think, in a lot of ways. You know, even certain horror movies I noticed are up for Oscars and things where normally that is definitely not the case.
Yeah, not everybody understands that.
Yeah.
Because Kennedy Davenport was recently quoted as saying, like, I don't know why all y'all gays are obsessed with horror. Y'all need to go to church. And I'm like, really?
I'm sorry, you with your scary drag? Got it.
Okay. I can guarantee you when you walk into that church as a man in a dress and a full face of makeup, they're not going to be too happy. But, you know, live your life.
You know what? As I once told the guy who broke up with me in college because I was an atheist, I was like, honey, you're going to hell too. I'll see you there.
Did you ever hear from him again after that?
No, but I did curse him, and his hair started thinning, and I think he's very unhappy.
Well, speaking of curses, I think that is a perfect segue into our Junior Mints Movie Club review.
Oh, yeah. All right. So it's time for this episode's Junior Mints Movie Review. For tonight's film, we have chosen Incantation, a 2022 Taiwanese found footage supernatural horror film that is streaming on Netflix. So the basic idea is that 6 years ago, Lee Ronan is cursed after breaking a religious taboo. Now she must protect her daughter from the consequences of her actions.
And it's not just any Taiwanese found footage film. It's actually the highest grossing Taiwanese horror film ever.
Of all time.
And that's how it got an international distribution deal with Netflix.
My mouth is agape. That's a gag. I did not know that. Wow.
Well, you could be double agaped because
Oh, she said double gape, honey.
Double gape.
the movie is inspired by an incident in the Gushan district from 2005. A family of 6 had claimed that they were possessed by various Chinese folk religious deities and accused each other of being possessed by demons.
Wow.
Yeah, after watching it, because this movie is crazy.
Yeah.
To hear that it's inspired by true story is even scarier.
It's weird to hear that it's inspired by a true story because I could actually see it because I think that there's a large part of the movie, or at least up until a certain point, where I was thinking, is this going to actually be supernatural, or are we looking at child abuse? Like, what are we looking at until we are very clearly looking at something crazy?
Yeah.
Well, let me start by asking you, what did you think of the movie?
I was not sure how I felt up until probably the 70% mark. I was like, this is kind of a lot. I think that there's very little in horror that I find to be unpalatable, but there's a lot of, it's not child abuse, but there is a lot of sad stuff that happens to a young child. And then we got to the final act of the movie and I was gagged. And I love found footage. Is it my favorite movie? No, but I really love this movie.
What do you think?
I have similar feelings. I thought I was going to be horrified. I literally, when my friend Karen, who is one of our besties, and she loves all things horror, all things Halloween, and we kiki about all that stuff. She recommended this movie. And she's actually Taiwanese. So she's like, it really freaked me out. It's the religious backdrop. It's all the Buddhism and all the spirituality that just gets under my skin. And I get that because I think I've said this before. Belief and religion is such a powerful thing, and it can be very scary what it does to people. So I was like, yep, let's sit down and watch Incantation so I can be terrified, because I thought it was really going to get me. And it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
Really?
I really wasn't. But I do think it managed to successfully convey the type of tension that a found footage horror movie creates, because I just kept looking at the fucking background. I was like, something's gonna happen, because it's always to camera and they can't see what's happening behind them, and they never kind of really did that trope, but the threat of it is like looming throughout the whole movie, and it got me.
It
got
goes
me good,
to some really dark places, but to me, it was scariest in the beginning when she first brought her daughter Dodo home, and she was, when the doors were slamming, and then she had a sheet over her head, and that
I got the chills.
Yeah, that was legitimately terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, it's when you said the beginning, it brought me to the very, very beginning, which, to me, the very beginning and the very end are probably my favorites. I would say, honestly, my recommendation is, like, if you want to see it at the very beginning of the film, there is this almost a title plate, and it's just the protagonist speaking and saying, "Look at the Ferris wheel. It's moving to the right, it's moving to the left," and you're sort of put into this almost trance state of just understanding, your beliefs and your intentions have meaning. And then at the very end of the film, they do it again to a almost maddening level. And there's that trick where the black text on the screen goes away and it's burned into your eyes. And I was like, this is slick. This is actually very slick.
They did a few slick things too, like something that I don't think I've ever really seen another movie do, which is basically like direct to camera, imploring the viewers to partake in this incantation to help them. But then you learn that it's actually to spread the curse, because the more people that are infected with the curse, it reduces the potency. So she's trying to save her daughter. So she's basically trying to contaminate all of our minds as the viewers, which is very fucking clever.
It also freaked people out when they were watching it, because they were like, wait a minute, is this real? Like, are we doing something now that, are we getting cursed?
Yeah.
Which is effective. It's very Blair Witchy.
No, very much so. And she goes as far as saying, like, say this with me. It's okay if you say it in your mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you not say it in your mind if you're reading it? If you're hearing it.
I think that the part where it's like imploring the viewer to sort of do certain things, or our role as an audience member, like the meta nature, started to reveal itself when you realize that her past career was as like a YouTuber, creating those sort of like clickbaity Ghostbusters kind of videos. And I'm like, oh, this is found footage by way of modern YouTube aesthetics. This is very much a listicle of like top 10 most haunted places. And I think the exploration of that, as people who are on the internet all the time, it's cool to be like, oh, we have The Ring, we have these cursed videotapes, and now you have this cursed YouTube video viral thing that you could just be sent on your phone.
It gave me a great idea on how to spread a curse and a virus. I mean, it's perfect. Just make some kind of clickbait YouTube video, put the curse on there, have everybody read it.
Brilliant.
And have your deepest desires.
Season 7 challenge, design your own online curse. I love it.
Just get your dumpy out on TikTok and say the incantation with me, honey.
Show us your two-tone cheeks.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
I thought of you during this movie, and it related to what you just mentioned, which is this idea, because we saw it in Exuma as well, and you pointed out on the last episode, which is this idea that like the modern world is mixing with the ancient world. And there's a specific scene where the camcorder is on the altar, and they're kind of like fanning it with fronds, and there's like
because of the cursed
incantation
file on there.
Yeah, so they're using magic on this mechanical device, and I thought it was really interesting.
Oh, I love that.
I have a question for you all. So when she takes her daughter to the two mystics, right? I forget. It was like
masters or whatever.
Master, and when she took them there, and they were like, okay, your daughter can't eat for 7 days, right? And so she's trying to not make her daughter eat for 7 days, but then she gives in eventually because of the doctor told her she had to, whatever.
Yeah.
So and then she goes back to the place, and obviously it's a horror scene.
Yeah.
So because remember they warned her. They were like, we're risking our life
lives,
for you.
exactly.
Yeah. So don't feed your daughter. And she's like, I won't. But then she did, and she ends up getting them killed. But did you think that what they were doing was working? Did you get the impression that it was working, and if she hadn't fed them, it would have worked? Or was her daughter going to die? Because it seemed like she was going to die.
I think that was like the situation that Ronan was facing. How can a child not eat for 7 days? How can this work? And her daughter's suffering as the days go on. Day 2,
Getting
day 3,
worse,
day 4, getting a lot worse, and all that crazy body horror. Because that's another area that this film deep dives into, which is tons of body horror. And if you're a fan or have an aversion to body horror, this is a movie to remember.
Oh yeah, especially if you have I think it's called trypophobia. It's like the fear of small holes.
Yeah.
Because as someone who loves a small hole.
Why do I doubt that?
Well, listen, big, small, it doesn't matter, honey.
Wow.
The first time that you see when Lee Ronan lifts her daughter's, I think it's her sleeve, and you see that she has all of those like bore holes in her, just necrotic flesh. I was like, ooh, God. And then that repeats so many times
Yeah.
until really what I love is the big reveal at the end of Mother Buddha. I was like, that is very scary looking.
Yeah.
So I think that she didn't know whether it would work or not, and she didn't know if it was working or not. And I think that's just the risk you had to take while you're going on this sort of spiritual healing ordeal. And she failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That was a part for me where I thought I didn't know where we were going. I was fully prepared for either this is the make or break point. Either we are going to have supernatural or this is going to be very sad, where this child is going to starve to death and it's going to be the mom's fault and something really horrible. But then when the child started getting worse and worse and worse, and then she puts the IV in her and then the pineapple, I was like, oh, you have goofed.
Yeah.
You've truly messed it up.
What did you guys think of the caterpillar-looking worm?
Ooh. Oh, that was inside of her?
We kept seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw it in a couple of different scenes.
That was one thing that I enjoyed about the movie, but it's also, I know this about myself, when I like a movie, I am easy to kind of create passes for it.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of things in the film that are really just evocative of evil. There's the teeth and hair and mystic sort of just creep factor kind of throughout that's never really explained. Like, we don't really get a, hey, everyone, this Mother Buddha character, it comes from the caterpillar, and then there's the hair, and then there's the teeth. Like, we just sort of get all of these scary images.
Yeah.
And a part of me is like, it's a little cheap, but the prevailing part of me thinks it's just kind of gross.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that insects in many cultures evoke ideas of like infection, infestation, vermin, that kind of vibe. So if there's evil present, that's kind of what you see, which is how I took it. But touching on what you said, Ian, I agree with you. The beginning is incredible. The ending is incredible. But there was a little chunk in the middle where I was like, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. When they're at that family ritual gathering, she's like, you can't stay here. And like all of that stuff unfolds. And I'm not even going to go into the detail. But the thing that I agree with you on is that it was frantic, and it was like she flashes to the left and flashes to the right, and it's nighttime, and they're outside, and they're in this tunnel, and oh my God, they're all painted, and all these men, and there's the granny again, who I live for. I live for her. But it was like, this is erratic, this is scary and frantic, and I wouldn't be able to make sense of everything that I saw, and the viewer, it's not overly explained, and I thought it was like really, really effective.
What did you all think were the scariest moments? Like, what were the scariest moments for you personally?
The opening scene.
Do you mean with the car?
Accident. The accident. Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's so many little details. Like there's a hand that just floating and it flickers. I mean, it was so good. And that sets up the movie. And you're like, if this is what I'm in for 2 hours, I got to put on my big girl dress.
Yeah, and then with the double suicide of the police officers and just several instances of overt suicide, cursed, just darkness. Yeah, you're totally right.
There's that, and then we talked about it earlier, the scene when Dodo is like, oh my, it's on the ceiling, and then the doors are slamming, and then the ghost sheet, I was like, oh, I literally, chills like rippled through my body, because, involuntarily.
I was going to say the sheet scene, and also, I'm a sucker for, like you mentioned, when there's something in the background of the scene, and she's just pointing at the ceiling, and she goes like, the baddie is on the ceiling, you have to lead him down by hand. And I was like, you need to leave the building. Like, don't.
We see more of that too when she's walking down the street in the surveillance footage, and she's got her hand out like she's holding something's hand, but there's nothing there.
So creepy.
Yeah.
This is a bleak ass movie.
It is so bleak.
Yeah.
And I think it ramps up in the bleakness and the intensity. And what I really liked about the scare factor is there are a lot of good tension scares and not a lot of jump scares until probably the last 15 minutes is very jump scary.
Yeah.
I remember it's sort of the entire sequence in the tunnel where you're getting the tunnel footage from 6 years ago, and now we have the current day tunnel footage with the mirrors breaking and the head smashes.
Bite, that turn, and the eyes shift in the bite.
I definitely screamed once when the boyfriend character he's screaming. He goes, "What's my name?" And then the friend says his name, and then he slams his head and then turns around like, "Ah!" So I definitely jumped.
I thought one of the scariest moments was when you realize as a viewer you were getting tricked into taking on this curse.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, wow, that is really chilling.
I love that.
A way that I haven't seen done on film before.
Yeah, it's cool too. I was talking recently about horror, just in the sense that horror is like the one genre that I think really asks you as an audience member to suspend your disbelief and get into the mindset of what's happening. So sure, maybe it's not a jump scare heavy movie, but if you are looking at the experience of, people in Exuma, really terrifying. And this one, I think, fully just points the camera directly at you and is like, say the incantation. Just say it in your mind.
Yeah.
And then when they do that extended chant with the red text on the screen, I was like, this is actually very scary.
No,
Because
totally.
it was in Taiwanese, but then it was also like in English and like a couple of, and I was like, okay, they're getting everybody.
Yeah, and then you had
to say this.
toward the end, you had those Buddhist monks that were translating. They're like, we know exactly what this
and then
means.
the reveal.
And you're like,
Yes.
rippling chills. But this movie created a tension that lasted from moment one to moment done, and I felt like I was being slowly smothered by a blanket of curses. Like, it was just, when is it going to end?
Well, I have to now reveal my real life horror. When I arrived here at the studio to record this episode, the first thing that happens, I walk in and it is dark, and Swan goes, you need to go into the other room and you need to keep the lights off, turn your flashlight on, and look at the couch. And then the Boulets are both behind me, and I'm like, oh God, what is this gonna be? And I can't spoil what was on the couch, but I legit was like, I'm not gonna say the incantation. I'm not gonna spread the curse.
Well, like I said, I got scared the same way because someone put them there and did not warn me. And I was the only person in the office.
Oh, that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, and I was here by myself, and I had come in, and everything was dark and turned off, and I was like, let me go and turn the lights on over there. And I walked in, and I saw it, and I freaked out. But people will know what we're talking about.
And then you sent me pictures.
Yes, I sent you a picture. It's hysterical. So would you all recommend this movie or no?
I am going to say yes, but I am also going to give a big warning because what I wasn't expecting is I think this movie is pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Like we've watched a lot of movies on the podcast for the Junior Mints Movie Club, but I don't think we've ever watched a movie that's made me feel like, ooh, this is actually kind of icky at parts.
I'm with you on that.
Intense.
I think it is hardcore. I think the tone is set right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's worth a watch.
Yes.
You might not love it, but I think it does stuff that other movies have never really done. And it is the highest grossing horror movie out of Taiwan ever. So I think it's an interesting exploration in Asian horror.
I think if you are a horror light fan or you're more into horror that's camp, this is not going to be for you because it's pretty disturbing. You have a lot of references to suicide, child abuse, like Ian said, and different things like that. Elder abuse in a weird, I don't know, just weird things happening that, like, not everyone's going to be into.
Yeah.
I would say I would recommend it if you're into extreme horror.
Yeah, just as a weird sidebar, when you mentioned that it was a Taiwanese horror film and the highest grossing, it reminded me there's another Taiwanese horror film that is also really extreme, and it's called The Sadness.
Oh, Karen told us about that.
Yeah,
too.
I remember you said you loved that too.
I love it, and it is wretched. Like, that is a disgusting horror movie.
I'm
we're not
hearing-
gonna watch it next because we're on a roll, and I'm like, I need something a little lighter for the next one, like
like,
real
what was it
life
called?
murder.
yeah, exactly. It's like what Jennifer did.
Yeah, exactly. I want
What
to know
did
what
Jennifer do?
We're about to find out.
What did Jennifer do?
All right, my darlings, it's about that time we take another break, and we will be right back. Welcome back, my fugly uglies. It's time to answer all of your listener questions. Remember, if you have a question to ask us about the podcast or any of our upcoming projects, please send your emails to creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com. Ian, would you please do the honors?
As the fugliest ugly, of course. LJ asks, Swan, darling, when are you going to open up the restricted section that is your book nook back into the podcast again? And do Drac and Ian have their own shelves within the nook of graphic novels, comic books, and a corner to scream in?
They know us so well. They know us so well.
Yes.
Of course they have their own shelves. Of course there's a crying corner and a crying closet for Ian, just depending on the extremity of the read. Drac and I were just talking today about, hey, do you have any books that you want to read? And maybe can we use them for the book nook? We're taking another road trip this week, and I think we're going to be really remote, like very removed, off the radar and off the grid, and we're bringing some books. So let's put a little teaser out there. It's a Clive Barker book. I'm gonna start just kind of testing the waters, and if I like it, I'll recommend it.
I have so many. I have a literal stack of books that were on my nightstand, and then some of them came on the tour bus, never to be cracked, and now they're back on the nightstand, but they're coming with me, and I'm going to read some of them, so yeah.
Follow-up question for Darling Drac. In an earlier podcast this summer, you have mentioned that there is a comic book that has both the protagonist of Miles Morales and Blade, and in the comic, Blade ends up biting Miles. Which comic is that?
It is called Blood Hunt, and it's its own comic that's coming out weekly from Marvel, but there's spin-offs that happen, so it's showing up in like the Avengers and it's showing up in all the other books as well. But I don't know, is it great? No. It's kind of interesting, but it's a little bit more of the same. Although some main characters were turned into vampires, so that'll be interesting to see how that turns out, because they said that they're not going to turn them back. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Kirk from Washington, D.C. writes, about 6 years ago, some folks on Twitter started a tradition of following Gay Pride Month in June by celebrating Gay Wrath Month in July. On its Wikipedia page, yes, it has its own Wikipedia page, it notes that Wrath Month is a, quote, unofficial celebration of LGBTQ plus anger. In your opinion, should Wrath Month be more widely recognized, and how would you throw a Wrath Month party?
Wow.
It doesn't sound like a good theme for a party. Parties about celebration and fun. And so anger doesn't, unless it's a mosh pit, which doesn't make any sense. It's a little weird. I am a total supporter of Gay Wrath Month because to me, I've always been the type of person that's like, you don't ask for permission, you demand it, right? So you don't say, give me my rights, please help me. I'm like, I'm not into that. I'm like, you're going to get out of my fucking way and give me what I want. And you're going to, if you don't treat me as an equal, I will make sure that you will, know? And
exactly.
I feel I would love queer people to take that attitude, mostly because I am sensitive to people who sort of can't stand up for themselves or can't protect themselves. And it makes me angry. I want them to be safe and happy and accepted. So I'm like, you got to kind of dig deep and fight back a little bit, I think. So,
I 100% agree. And as far as the party thing goes, I would do a series of 7 parties, and the last party would be the Wrath Party, because the 6 before that would be the other deadly sins.
love it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Cody from Toronto asks, my man and I were wondering if you are coming to haunt Canada for the Season 5 tour. I asked about the Season 4 tour before, and you guys answered you wouldn't be haunting us that season. Hoping we will get this season, though.
Well, look, I know we've teased a couple things. We've talked about Canada potentially and the UK because the tour companies have talked to us about doing it. So they mentioned it to us, and then they shift dates around and times and stuff. So I wish I could say, yes, we're coming to Canada and we're coming to the UK with the Season 5 tour. But what I think is safe to say is that the Season 6 tour, yes, we are talking about a Season 6 tour already. Mm-hmm. Thanks to all of you at home for coming to the Season 5 tour, by the way. But the Season 6 tour is going to start internationally and hit those places that we did not hit with Season 5 and then come to the U.S. So I'm kind of excited about that. All right, that's all the time we have for the podcast today. Thank you all for listening. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen, and I'm serious. You need to go on there and write a review and pick 5 stars because I'm very proud of the fact that our podcast is 5 stars. Thanks to all of you at home. We'll see you next week, darlings.
The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted and produced by Dracmorda and Swantula Boulet, along with co-host Ian DeVogler, with music by Neuron Spectre.